You know that feeling, right? That internal tug of war where you know exactly what you should be doing.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's getting out of bed or starting that difficult task, making that call you're dreading.
Yep. And something inside just stops you, puts on the
Yeah,
brakes.
exactly. It's that moment, right before procrastination or doubt just completely takes over. Or suddenly you really need to reorganize your sock drawer.
Absolutely. It's like the impulse is there, you see the path, but before you take a single step, your brain just floods with reasons not to.
Right.
Roadblocks everywhere.
That gap, that's exactly what kicks off our deep dive today. We got this really interesting piece of text from a listener introducing a technique that sounds, well, almost ridiculously simple. It's called the hashtag 5-second rule.
Right. And the source material, it even highlights the author's own skepticism at first, like counting backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Seriously.
Yeah, sounds like something for kids, doesn't it?
Totally. They admit they were stunned. It actually worked for something as basic as getting up on time, something they'd apparently struggled with for ages.
So, okay, our mission today, digging into this source, is to figure out why. Why does this seemingly kind of silly rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, actually work so powerfully, according to the author?
What's the mechanism behind it?
Yeah, and how do people really use it? What are the downstream effects? We're going to unpack this concept, really get into the insights the author uncovered.
Okay, let's do it. So, yeah, how can counting backwards possibly make a difference? The author eventually figured it out, and it's not just random numbers.
So what did they find? What's the why?
Well, first off, the counting itself is a deliberate mental gear shift.
Yeah.
You're literally interrupting your brain's automatic default patterns, the ones that usually lead straight to hesitation or excuses.
Ah, okay. So instead of letting that, "Ugh, I don't feel like it," track start.
You
Wait.
cut it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps you, as the source puts it, assert control right in that critical moment.
Okay.
The counting is simple, it's active, it distracts your brain just for a few seconds from manufacturing all those reasons not to do the thing. It focuses your mind and points it in a new direction towards action.
And there's a physical piece too, right? The source mentioned movement.
Yes, absolutely key. It's not just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Think. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You go. You physically move.
Ah.
And that physical movement changes your physiology. It sends a different signal to your brain. Hey, we're doing something now. And your mind tends to follow that lead. It's like an action bias built right in.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just thinking differently, it's immediately acting differently.
Exactly.
And if you think about habits, how we form them, what's going on there?
Well, in habit research terms, the rule acts like a starting ritual.
Mm.
You know the habit loop?
Yeah.
Cue, routine, reward.
Right.
If your usual routine after a cue, like the alarm clock, is to hit snooze or hesitate, the rule inserts a new ritual. The countdown and the physical push. That launches you into a different routine, taking the action you intended.
Huh. So it hijacks the old habit loop and starts a new one. That's clever.
It is.
Does the source connect this to, like, specific brain areas?
It does. The author learned that using the rule helps activate the prefrontal cortex.
Okay, the CEO of the brain, right?
Pretty much. It's the part involved in planning, making decisions, focusing, doing things deliberately, with the goal in mind. When you count down and push, you're engaging that conscious executive function to override the more automatic, habit-driven parts of your brain, like the basal ganglia.
So you're consciously recruiting the part of your brain that helps you change and make choices.
Exactly. And the author really went deep on the science later. Looked into the basal ganglia, which is huge for habits.
Hmm.
The rule helps you sort of bypass its automatic stop signals. They looked at activation energy. That initial push needed to start anything.
Right, getting over the hump.
Yeah. The rule lowers that by making you focus just on the tiny first step, the move. They also touched on cognitive biases, neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change even things like the progress principle and locus of control. The rule seemed to interact with all of them.
Wow. Okay, this leads to what sounds like a really core insight from the source, this critical 5-second window.
Yes. This was apparently a huge light bulb moment for the author. They realized there's this tiny, almost invisible window, like 5 seconds max, between the moment you have an instinct or an impulse to act on something positive.
Like speaking up, starting a task.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the moment your brain's internal safety system kicks in with all the doubts, fears, and excuses to stop you cold.
So in just 5 seconds, your brain basically decides whether you move forward or stay put.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And recognizing this window, seeing how fast their own brain would shut down positive impulses, that changed everything for the author. They realized the problem wasn't usually the external situation. It was internal self-sabotage happening, as they put it, 5 seconds at a time.
Wow. 5 seconds at a time, that hesitation is the killer.
That tiny moment is all it takes for the brakes to engage.
So recognizing that internal battle, that the problem starts inside in that split second, the solution became pretty straightforward.
Yeah, a really simple, clear promise they made to themselves. If they had an instinct to do something they knew was good for them, something to move them forward or improve things, use the rule. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push yourself to take that first physical action.
Regardless of feeling.
Totally regardless. Didn't matter if they felt tired, scared, uncertain, whatever. The feeling wasn't the point. The action was.
And the source just piles on the examples of how this played out, right, in everyday life.
Oh, yeah. It started with the alarm clock, just getting up, but then boom, it spread. Getting to the gym.
Yeah.
Not debating it. Just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out the door for a run.
Dealing with habits, too, like wanting another drink.
Yep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, put the glass down. Using it for better interactions, too.
Yeah, the relationship stuff. Using it to, like, catch yourself before saying something harsh.
Exactly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, change the tone, be kinder in that moment instead of reacting badly. And, of course, procrastination.
The classic.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sit down, open the file, start working on that resume you've avoided for weeks.
And it wasn't just small stuff. The source mentions really tough things, like facing serious financial problems.
Right. Using 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to actually open the scary letters from creditors or make those difficult calls. Facing bankruptcy head on.
We're using it to rebuild a career.
Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to reach out to old clients, get the referral engine going again, pushing through the discomfort of job interviews when things were messy, like contract issues. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just propel yourself forward.
Even doing hard things together, like the author and their husband using it for meetings with accountants about debt. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tackle the nauseating work.
It really shows the range, doesn't it? From the mundane little hesitations to the really big, scary stuff. It's a tool for any moment of internal resistance.
And the big discovery, highlighted over and over in the source with these stories, is that taking these simple actions doesn't just get the thing done. It creates ripple effects.
Yeah, this chain reaction idea. It builds confidence, builds productivity.
No, sorry.
Well, pushing yourself, even in small ways, creates momentum. And that momentum generates this feeling of freedom and power, as the source calls it. It's apparently really profound.
The transformations mentioned are pretty incredible. There's one about Rachel. Started with just getting up on time.
Right. And that one simple, consistent act, using the rule every morning, apparently started a chain of events. She lost 30 pounds, bought a house, revitalized her marriage.
Wow. Just from getting out of bed, it sounds almost too simple.
It does, but the argument is that regaining control in one small area gives you the confidence and energy to tackle others. Then there's Rebecca, who used it to escape analysis paralysis.
That's stuck in her head.
Totally. She started making small moves forward, consistently, and she described it as feeling free for the first time in 47 years. Breaking out of a mental jail. That phrase really sticks, doesn't it? Mental jail.
It really does. Makes you think how much we trap ourselves with overthinking. And Jenny, who added a word. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Healthy.
Yeah, customizing it. Using that to get the kick in the arse, needed to take charge of her health. The source mentions her old diet canned ravioli, chips, soda, versus the changes she made. That first step is everything.
And Donna, the skeptic.
Ah, yes. Told the author, yeah, I'll use it, but it's not going to be life-changing. Famous last words, right?
Apparently.
She later said it changed just about everything. For her, life and business. Her big realization. Only we can hold ourselves back. She was amazed at how she'd held herself hostage out of fear.
That insight itself, that the cage is mostly internal, that's massive. This ties back to something you mentioned earlier, locus of control.
Exactly. Julian Rotter's concept. Basically, do you believe you control your life or that external forces do? The source argues that every time you use the rules successfully, you're proving to yourself in a small way that you are in charge of your actions.
So you shift your locus of control inward.
Precisely. And research shows a stronger internal locus of control correlates with more happiness, more success. The rule helps build that belief through action.
Which leads to that bold claim in the source. Motivation is a myth. Kind of counterintuitive.
It sounds harsh, yeah. But the point isn't that motivation doesn't exist, it's that you can't wait for it. That feeling of, yay, I want to do this hard thing, often doesn't show up when it's actually time to, well, do the hard thing.
Right. You need to act anyway.
Exactly. Change requires deliberate action, what the author calls the power of a push. You have to initiate it yourself, basically get off your rear end, rather than waiting for inspiration to magically strike.
So the rule becomes the mechanism for that push. It helps you build, what, a bias toward action?
That's a phrase they use, yeah. It helps you sidestep the overthinking quicksand and builds confidence that you can take control. You can influence your own path.
Okay, so if hesitation in that 5-second window is the core problem, and the rule interrupts it, the source also frames hesitation itself as, like, a habit.
Right. It's not just random. Hesitating, holding back, overthinking these often become deeply ingrained patterns, habits, encoded in the brain, in those basal ganglia pathways we talked about. Your brain gets really efficient at not acting if that's what it practices.
But the flip side is, habits can be changed.
That's the good news. And the source positions the rule as basically the simplest, most direct way to break that old hesitation habit and install a new one. The habit of acting.
It always comes back to that moment of change, doesn't it? And that phrase, hesitation is the kiss of death. Oof.
It's stark, but yeah, even a tiny pause, a nanosecond of holding back, is apparently enough time for your brain's default. Stay safe, stay comfortable, don't do anything new or scary. System to kick into high gear. It happens incredibly fast, under 5 seconds.
And boom, suddenly you have a million perfectly logical reasons not to do the thing. Fear, self-doubt, excuses.
They rush right in. And the source stresses, this isn't just about big life choices. We hesitate in tiny ways constantly, not asking a question, not making eye contact, not starting the first sentence of an email.
And those little hesitations add up.
They build the pattern. The rule helps break that pattern in those small, crucial moments, too.
And the source suggests that using the rule consistently across all these moments leads to something more than just ticking boxes off a to-do list.
Yeah, a deeper transformation is how it's described. It goes beyond just productivity. It starts to impact your core confidence, your inner strength,
Ow.
because it forces you to repeatedly confront the very things that usually stop you. Your go-to excuses, your ingrained habits, those uncomfortable feelings, the insecurities, the fears that might have, haunted you for years.
You start to see through your own, well, the source uses the word bullshit.
Right. You see the patterns, the time wasted just waiting for things to feel right, waiting for circumstances to change, waiting for motivation.
And using the rule is the opposite of waiting.
Exactly. It's active. It ends the waiting. And that, according to someone named Robin, quoted in the source, brings joy and freedom. It helps you step up and become the person you need to be for whatever's next in your life or career.
It's pretty amazing that such a simple mechanism could spark that kind of internal shift. How did this idea even get out there?
Well, the author first shared it publicly way back in 2011 at a TEDx talk. Funnily enough, the talk was called How to Stop Screwing Yourself Over. But the rule itself was apparently just mentioned briefly right near the end.
Just a small part, but it clearly struck a chord.
Oh, massively. The talk went viral, millions saw it, and then people started writing in. From everywhere.
How many?
The source says over 100,000 people. From more than 80 countries, all sharing how they were using this simple 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing.
Oh.
And it was that overwhelming response, all the questions, the stories, the requests for more detail that actually pushed the author to do the deep research, to really figure out why it worked. They approached it almost like a lawyer building a case, diving into the science of change, habits, motivation, the brain, and surveying tons of users to understand how they were applying it and what was happening for them.
And the examples from other people are just as compelling as the author's own.
Totally. A nurse using it multiple times a shift just to get through tough moments. A friend finally getting the courage to ask for a divorce. Someone else leaving a soul-crushing consulting job.
Big life changes.
Huge. A colleague losing 73 pounds. An uncle quitting smoking after years. A friend negotiating a fantastic remote work setup. It shows the breadth of it.
It really does.
The source argues the rule gives people the framework, the courage, and the method for how to push yourself to change. It's the practical how-to.
Which circles back to a really crucial point the author makes. It's a tool. You have to actually use it.
Exactly. The claim is bold. It will work every time you use it. But the key part is use it. You have to pick it up and apply it in that moment of hesitation.
If you stop using it.
Then the old patterns, fear, uncertainty, excuses, they'll just creep back in and take control of your decisions, as the source puts it. It's not magic, it's a practice.
And the fix is simple. Just start using it again. Next time you feel stuck, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yep. There's a section about Chris, the author's husband, using it heavily during really tough times in his business, facing immense fear, guilt, uncertainty, things like restructuring debt, closing a business line to pay back investors, really hard stuff.
He used the rule to push through those actions?
Yes, to face the tasks head on, but also, interestingly, to manage his internal state.
Oh, so.
He used it to redirect negative thought loops about past failures. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, he'd consciously use the rule 5-4-3-2-1 to pivot his focus to what they did accomplish. Built restaurants, a great team culture, revenue, a brand. And crucially, what he learned from the whole experience.
Shifting the narrative.
Exactly. Focusing on the value of the learning, which he says is worth more than money can buy.
Yeah.
He reflects in the source that the rule helped him process both success and failure, giving him power and control over my positive and negative thoughts.
That's a really powerful internal application. Okay, so let's pull this all together. This deep dive into the source material on the hashtag 5-second rule. It paints a picture of this, well, deceptively simple technique, almost counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's this mental and physical tool designed specifically to interrupt that tiny, critical moment of hesitation, that 5-second window we talked about.
It forces immediate action.
Right. And the core idea is that by consistently making those small pushes again and again, you build this incredible momentum.
Which translates into real confidence, a feeling of freedom, and ultimately a stronger sense that you are actually in control of your life and your choices.
It's not about making hard things suddenly feel easy. It's about giving you a reliable way to make hard things happen, to act despite the difficulty or the fear.
So the final thought, maybe, is this. If hesitation really is that kiss of death, the thing that stops us in those tiny but crucial moments, what small 5-second decision might be right there in front of you, right now, just waiting for that push? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.